What is this?
No, we gotta technically keep it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Still open meeting.
Okay, we're live.
All right, good morning. I'd like to call the audit committee meeting to order. The time is 10:33 on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. And at this time, if we can have a roll call, please.
Sure. And Commissioner Fisher, it looks like all members are present for today and we have a quorum.
Well, thank you very much and welcome everybody and appreciate you all being here in your attendance. All right, we'll go ahead and start with C, review and approval of minutes of July 18th, 2024. Hopefully that you all had the opportunity to review the minutes. If not, I will give you a few minutes to do that. Then we'll I ask for a motion to approve. Can I get a motion to approve the July 18th minutes 2024?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion by Carl Blunt. And second, all in favor? And opposed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item D, FY24 audit work plan activity.
Yes, so altogether, I don't think we'll have y'all here too long this morning, but certainly worthy of giving you a progress update of where we are in general with both the previous year's audit work plan and the current one. But with regard to the FY24 audit work plan, we are closing up activity on that. As you'll recall, you did recommend acceptance of the economic development audit a couple months back, and that was subsequently approved by the Merit Commission on August 6th in a unanimous vote. So they had good things to say about that, and very appreciative of y'all's work as well. So that has since been taken care of. Same with the comprehensive performance audit of human resources. That is actually on the upcoming agenda for October. So it'll be the September-October cycle for human resources audit of employee recruitment, hiring, and orientation that you all recommended go forward in your July meeting. So the Mayor and Commission have been given a copy of it in advance, given the length of the report, to give them adequate time to sort of go through it instead of just the typical 2 weeks ahead of time. They've all been given that. We're actually going to have a work session with them next Tuesday in which we specifically talk about in a presentation the human resources audit and sort of go over some of the highlights with them and have the opportunity for them to ask questions beyond just the normal Mayor and Commission agenda setting meetings and things like that. So given the scale of that particular audit, I think it's appropriate for that to be treated a little bit differently than some of our periodic audits, and make sure that all the work that was put into it is understood and appreciated by everyone involved. So that is the status right now of the human resources audit.
I do want to add, I want to thank our Manager Jones for being here this morning. We do have a new director of human resources, and I forgot her name, Manager Jones.
Vicky Casella, and she comes by way of Gwinnett County, where she spent about 14 years. I think 2 of which she was the director. She was also the deputy director for several years, and she kind of worked her way up through the Gwinnett County system. But she has overall 20 years of HR related experience and almost 18 years of local government experience. So we're really excited to have her. But we're lucky to have someone with that magnitude and experience. Gwinnett County, as you know, is a huge organization. They deal with a lot of the same stuff as we do. The cadence of Gwinnett County is very similar to ours as well. So she's going to do well here.
Thank you. And I think one of the things that now that we got that in place, give an opportunity to catch up on the audit, get to really know our staff, and get to know our county government and stuff. So I think that's gonna be really big plus moving forward. So, but thank you again for
Yes, sir.
taking care of that.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the timing of what we just did and the fact that Vicky will be able to take the audit itself once approved or accepted by the commission and, you know, incorporate that how she sees fit into her going forward in the position. So again, don't expect this to just sit on a shelf and collect dust. I think it's going to be proving very, very valuable to her going forward. So, but that's all I have on item D.
Go ahead and go right in the right item E.
All right. Well, then the current audit work plan status and activity. So that was approved again by the Mayor and Commission on August 6th. And so that sets this current fiscal year's audit plan and assignments that you all have seen and approved. So we're going right into it now that it's been approved. We were prepping for that prior to August, but now that August has come and gone and it's been approved, we've already started hitting the ground running on a number of assignments. And so I'm going to kind of go over where we are with that. Everyone's been contacted that is a part of this upcoming audit work plan. So the three main departments were IT, HCD, and transit. I've reached out to all of them in some capacity, and they're all aware of the fact that an audit is upcoming. And I think we have a good communication so far, and everyone's anticipating some good cooperation. But that said, specifically, we have started with housing and community development, and that is well underway now. Ever since the day that it was approved by the commission, we sent out notices, formal notices, and had meetings with our HCD staff. They have been briefed on the process. We have reached out to them in terms of questionnaires already and have received questionnaires back, responses from their staff. We are already getting material from them as far as the requests for data and other policies. So that is consistently flowing in as well, and that'll actually come to a close in the next week or two, and we'll essentially mid-September, end of September, begin our field work after collecting all of that data. So well underway and on schedule, and I don't anticipate us countering any sort of hiccups with the process. If so, we'll certainly let you all know, but I think everything's going well so far. So that is well underway as our housing and community development periodic audit. The next one on the list was our IT cybersecurity special project. And in the work plan, you know, we left it broad. It was just labeled as a special project. We didn't really put a calendar date on it, just other than to be part of the work plan. We saw the opportunity, though, with sort of that lag month in July, waiting for the formal work plan to be approved by the commission in August. We went ahead and started planning for the IT special project, and we've actually kicked that off right away in early August. Seeing that we were waiting for the data and the information to come in through HCD, we didn't want to waste that month and sort of twiddle our thumbs. We wanted to knock something out, and so we've actually had that as the main priority. We've been meeting with IT this entire month weekly, and we're actually wrapping that up. By design, as you all discussed, it was meant to sort of just be a very quick special project. We actually, in the sort of audit sphere, consider it an attestation engagement. And there's a formal
I thought that was a company name we had contracted.
no.
Yeah, really.
A legitimate process actually in the auditing world, and by design, it is meant to be different than what we typically do. It is not a comprehensive audit, obviously. It's not even a periodic audit. You know, you all were very specific in the fact that you just wanted to see where we are right now with regard to cybersecurity and whether or not what we find in a very limited capacity warrants further examination in the future, or discussion at the mayor and commission level, or maybe not. Maybe we're good. But what we did is we first got with the manager's office and our attorney's office, and so the topic of confidentiality being a cybersecurity issue was discussed with our attorney's office. We know the boundaries and sort of the limitations that are now associated with that. We won't get into detail, obviously, here in this public setting, but there are exemptions from open records in public meetings that do exist for cybersecurity, and that was confirmed by our attorney's office. So more than likely, as we wrap this up in the next week or two, come your October meeting, we'll be able to go into executive session with you all as a group and discuss a little bit more in detail, sort of the things that came about. And the same will likely be for the mayor and commission, is that this won't be a formal agenda, report. There's nothing to approve. But we will likely, I've talked to the mayor, go into executive session with the mayor and commission as well, and have a brief discussion about where we are. So I would anticipate that at your next meeting. The result of this is likely to be about a 4 to 5 page memo. Again, considering the confidentiality and the sensitivity of some of the information, there are not going to be details, like specific details in this memo, but I think it will be enough for you all to ask questions and at least gain an understanding and hopefully a comfort level of where our efforts are in terms of cybersecurity right now. So more to come on that, but that is well underway, and we're actually wrapping up that initiative right now. But what I did is provide you in some of the bullet points in your information, sort of the objective that was agreed upon by everyone before we began that engagement. Talking about just general policies surrounding cybersecurity, ensuring that they're in place in some capacity. Or what you won't find is a professional opinion or recommendation from us based on this not being a typical audit and us not spending the amount of time that we typically would. We're not comfortable making that professional opinion, and this type of process actually doesn't call for one by design. It's just to present the current climate, if you will, and you as an audit committee and the mayor and commission to be able to then say, okay, based on this information, we have questions. Based on this information, we're not comfortable, or we are comfortable with where we're at. And that's really all it's meant to do. And if we decide to go further into detail later on in another assignment, so be it. But that's ultimately what you'll be given at the next meeting, is sort of a 4 to 5 page memo that we'll talk about in confidence. So a lot of it is going to be relying upon just the professionalism and the comfort level of IT as well. We've asked them to sort of grade their own assessment. We've provided a framework for them to do that, and they're going through that as we speak. And we were in the field talking with them for a number of engagements to sort of verify what they were speaking to. But at the end of the day, it'll just come down to whether or not you all as a group feel comfortable with where we're at and what's presented. So
just a quick question. So the sole scored sufficiency evaluation that they're working on. So you mentioned NIST. Could you elaborate a little bit what the standard is there? Where that comes from?
Yes, and I'm going to actually go to the pro on that one right now. Judy's sort of been heading up that side of things, so I'll let her maybe go a little bit more into the framework.
The framework it's actually the U.S. Commerce Department has the National Institute of Standards for Technology. So they have developed this, and it's an extremely comprehensive framework of everything that is involved in cybersecurity. Identify, detect, protect, respond, and recover are the 5 facets of it. And then that's overseen by the 6th function, which is governance. And what we've had our IT department do is to self-assess. based on this framework.
Okay.
And there are comparatives that we can look at nationwide insofar as how we stack up against, and the way they break it down is SLTT, state, local, tribal, and territorial. Yeah, we've learned a lot about this. So yeah, we'll be able to, and they are pretty much complete, insofar as their self-assessment at the moment. There are some portions of that they decided to not assess within their framework, because especially with that governance function, a lot of it lies outside of the IT department itself insofar as the decision-making process is what they can do. But it's been great. They've been extremely cooperative, and I think they are looking at this as a great opportunity for them. They actually had a different framework, the ISO framework that they had gone through to assess themselves. And so they were very welcoming of, well, here's another one, that we can do and kind of see exactly how we stack up.
Yeah, it's great that they're so receptive. So it's you know, to have a different perspective on their standards is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it's a very comprehensive framework, and it's meant to be for private industry, all the way up to federal government departments. So it encompasses everything.
Right.
And it's very thorough, and they've welcomed it. We've had a lot of good conversations insofar as digging down into things. Maybe they need some clarification on what we were looking for, but it's been good conversation.
Have you all, I met someone at Northeast Georgia Regional Commission meeting that I'm sitting in on now. But who I think is over at who said he talked with you, and I didn't know the guy's name. He was over at but he did cybersecurity, and it was at Carl Vinson Institute.
Yeah, so
They had some special program they were working
they
with.
do.
Okay.
So we have made IT aware of that, and that is something that they had some webinars and stuff like that. They're very well detailed on their website, the public website. Anybody can go to it on Carl Vinson Institute. But basically, they've developed a program for local governments throughout the state where you can apply or request to have them sort of do an assessment of your IT department. And they almost make it, I believe, like a class project where, there's a class of students that will come in, but is supervised by, a professor or individual at the Carl Vinson Institute, and they'll essentially do an assessment of your IT operations, depending on what you all agree to. So yes, we are aware of that. We looked at that. The only thing with regard to this one's particular is, in order to move forward with something like that, I think first, this is a great first step to just see if that's needed. And then B, that sort of engagement would more than likely have to have a comfort level with our IT department, given who's going to have access, and as well as the mayor and commission and management, more than likely.
I just want to make sure
that's
because that was like cybersecurity.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. No, I think it's a tool that is utilized in particular by some of our smaller local governments throughout the state that maybe don't have the staff that we do. But no, it's definitely an option.
Okay, great.
Just a quick, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, mine's hopefully a quick question. So the people that are doing these self-assessments, is that the overall Department of IT, or do you have people doing that like in other, so like we talked about the 5 site visits, are there people doing that work in the other smaller departments, or are we just having the assessment by the overall? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think ultimately it is restricted to IT.
Okay.
It is, and it's not even the entire department. I think they're engaging their department for certain questions, but I think it's right now the director, assistant director, and maybe one other individual that is at least heading up the efforts to do that.
So the ones that have touch points across different spaces. Okay. Thank you.
I think the bottom line of this is, look, we could devote the entire budget to cybersecurity and it not be complete. It just always seems like these situations that, use the analogy of a house, you have an 8-foot tall razor wire fence that's electrified, you have 3 Dobermans in the house, 5 guards on staff, and then somebody doesn't lock the back door, and that's how somebody gets in. It's something like that is what we're trying to get more than anything else. That and making sure that like you were saying about the standards. I'm sorry, you were saying about the standards. That we are following reasonable standards for a government of all size in terms of cybersecurity. Because if God forbid something happens, that's the first thing somebody's going to ask is, okay, well, were you doing what a reasonable person would do?
Right.
And if you're not, that's when everybody's going to catch you.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Carl, because I think that you've hit it exactly what we've been observing and looking at, and ultimately we'll be reporting to you all is, are there standards in place? You know, the type of standards, the level of standards can all be debated one way or another, but is there something in place and what is it? And then I think ultimately, like you mentioned, what we're coming to find out very quickly is there is no 100% risk-free option. But what perhaps becomes the ultimate question at the mayor and commission level at the end of the day is, what is the risk appetite? What is that threshold that as a government we are comfortable with? You know, is what we are doing right now sufficient? Are we comfortable? Do we understand the risk of what we're doing and what we're not doing? And are we good to just maintain the status quo? Or does the mayor and commission feel like, no, this is something that perhaps we need more attention on, and we're not satisfied with the level of risk that we could possibly be subject to right now, and we want to take on efforts to maybe improve that percentage. So I think that's ultimately what our hope is at the end of the day.
One other thing that I would like to see out of this process is the standards that are in place for government response. So ultimately, we will be under, we probably already have been, what the government response is at what level, and all the backup plans for when it does happen. And especially if, you know, you get these ones that want, you know, $30 million to release the, you know, that kind of thing, that kind of situation is, what have we got in place for how the government responds to that, and what the backup plans are. That's what I would.
Absolutely, and that is something that is in our scope. And so, although we won't get into details, and more than likely we're not going to provide everyone with a copy of the actual plan, because quite honestly, I don't even think they'd be comfortable for me to see it. It's pretty under wraps. What I can say is that there is a plan, and that we'll be able to maybe provide a little bit more detail on it when we meet. But yes, that was within the scope. Is there a plan in place, and what are the procedures going forward if something were to happen? That is something that we will talk about. Yes.
We just saw what happened in Fulton County.
Yeah.
When they got attacked, and what happened there. And I think the biggest issue that we have to deal with is people open up stuff that they get from emails and stuff like that. And then that's how you get attacked.
Always
Yeah, that's the
the
back door.
biggest thing.
We got, I think, maybe 8 months ago, woke up one morning, they had like 6,000 emails. Somebody was trying to get into our system, but IT, you know, they cleaned it out. So, you know, stuff like that happens all the time for us. As commissioners, you know, we take our laptops home. Then, you know, we got security, you got it home, and so it can be easily accessed to those things that we're not following. But and I think part of this thing, if I think about it now, Gavin, is it's probably have to be educational for our staff and for the commissioners to really be mindful. When you get emails that you're not familiar with, open those emails up, you know. So
I think, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, I mean, I'm sure y'all had experience like this too, you know, with whatever it is. It seems like most of the things that I've read about it are actually applied in real life. It works best with something like this. Talking about Carl Vinson, is you hire somebody and tell them, okay, go break in. And then what's always petrifying, it takes them like 5 minutes, and they're like, and everybody's social security number or bank account information. You know, that's the way you really find vulnerabilities as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and testing is certainly something that, again, I think we'll touch upon a little bit more when it comes time for that. But that was certainly a question asked, and I think speaking to the education component, like we do with many of our audits, it's cybersecurity is something that perhaps we take for granted. It's not something everyone thinks about every day, but really hopes that is in place. And I think just ourselves as a department engaging in this effort opened our eyes to just the scale and magnitude of what it takes to provide cybersecurity for a government institution like ours. And it's all interconnected. It's not just cybersecurity, it's also what everything else happens at the IT department on a daily basis. It's staffing, it's capacity, it's budget. They're all linked. And so I think what you'll find out in future conversations is, you know, there are cybersecurity measures, but then there are also all of those other factors that influence those measures that are just as important. And so, you know, looking forward to sitting down with y'all and going over it a little bit more in detail.
Any other questions around this? Item number F.
Yes. So as far as an update goes, I do think we should talk a little bit about the calendar going forward. We just sort of touched upon the fact that more than likely at your October meeting, which I do feel like there will be a need for an October meeting because that's when we'll discuss this a little bit more in detail. But that will be an executive session. So that's not something this group has done before as an audit committee, but something we will have to engage in. So we'll conduct our business normally at the beginning of the meeting, and then sort of at the end of the meeting, we'll vote to go into executive session and talk a little bit more in detail about cybersecurity. So that's the plan for October. But that said, we'll be well engaged with HCD during that time, doing field work. And as far as a November meeting, I don't anticipate any action needed by the board in November. So it, again, up to y'all. It may be worthy of sort of canceling the November meeting, perhaps meeting one more time in December at our regular date to sort of give just a general status update. Again, I don't know if there'll be anything to approve, but we can sort of give you a status update. Because in January, the next meeting in January is on the 2nd, which is the day after the New Year's, and I for one probably won't even be here myself. So we may kind of skip meetings monthly for the next couple months anyway. So if that's something you all want to discuss.
I'd like to make a proposal, because by November, we'll have been as an organization a year and a half. And when we first met, we wanted to talk about the composition of the kind of constitution and bylaws. We don't have a set of bylaws and within another 6 months after, we'll be having new members. So I think we have a staggered membership. We may not have new members, but there'll be new members coming into the board. So I think by that time, we really should have developed and approved ourselves, our bylaws and how we operate. And I think as a group, we've gelled pretty well in terms of how we operate and how we work through the meeting. But I think it's a good time to, maybe November might be a good time to propose and work through bylaws, how we work and how we train the members and how that works.
Well, and I agree. If I think perhaps what we can do from a scheduling standpoint as a staff, maybe at the October meeting, since I think it's likely that we're going to meet in October, we can include on the agenda that topic of discussion, get some initial feedback perhaps from you all in October, have staff do some legwork maybe during the month of November along with HCD, and then come back to y'all in December with, some ideas or a draft. Yeah, some proposals. And that way you all still maybe don't necessarily need to meet in November, but that's up to y'all as far as that goes.
I'm not on the government operations committee, but you guys, is there any discussion of making some sort of, bylaws template for boards and authorities to use that they could build off of? I mean,
We've been going back and forth with that, and we have not came up with it. And you're exactly right. That was assigned us by the mayor to come up with that map, and we have not, because there was some other pressing things.
Right.
We're trying to get done.
I just brought it up so that they would be, they would that it would work together if
Right,
there was
yeah.
anything coming there.
There has been among commissioners, there has been a, conversation about how we deal with our boards and our authorities, with having a mission statement and all these things and how that works. So it's on government operations. So I'll say something to our chairperson, Patrick, of that board, and see where's that in the queue. And maybe we need to move that back up, to, maybe at our October meeting. I had that information to share, and I'll talk with Patrick. Thank you for that. But yeah,
Yeah, or if there is this, because I'm not sure if all the committees have
They don't.
bylaws, and if there is one that has some bylaws, or
We do
maybe
have
some other place that there's a template to use.
Yeah, so I think we'll be prepared to come back to y'all in October
Okay.
with some ideas
Yeah.
or some restrictions or limitations, but more than likely, it's not gonna prevent you from creating bylaws. I do think there's a general consensus, though, that while BACs are still sort of up in the air in general at the committee level, there are some limitations as to what we may want to put in place, but
I beg your pardon.
Oh.
BAC is bylaws.
no, I'm sorry, boards, authorities, and committees. Yes, yeah.
Trying to guess.
Hey, yeah, you gotta be rude.
No, you're right, Carl. I appreciate that.
Sounds like government lingo.
So
Meetings.
we have some bylaws in place for other boards that we can at least get the bare bones.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says, going forward in a couple months or a year, if we want to add to the bylaws, we certainly can.
right.
We can adjust them as necessary, but I think there'll be enough in place and we'll have a template to sort of get some bare bones going.
Okay.
And we can provide that for you.
Great.
Great. And what we're trying to do, Carl, is be consistent among our BACs,
Yeah.
and right now we're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they all over the place.
And that's the concern, is just not coming up with bylaws that are gonna be completely 180 from other
Exactly.
bylaws that are already in place, so.
So is it, Dr. Thomas, did you roll off in July? Is that the schedule?
I was wondering that.
I will get that in, I can send that out to y'all in an email.
Okay.
I still remember seeing some list and going, ooh, they got me for the 3 year term.
You're all right, you're the longest.
Yeah, yeah.
You're on the marathon. I'm on
Yeah,
the
they
sprint.
said that one fast. I wouldn't ask about that.
But is there restriction on reassignments? Do we have that? Like,
Yes.
What's gonna happen?
Just kidding.
What's gonna happen, Carol, in January, the mayor, he makes the assignments, but it's from commissioner standpoint.
Okay, so y'all could change.
We could, I don't think we might, but we
Yeah.
could, because we got a new commissioner coming on. So he's gonna have to assign her somewhere, and I'm not sure where. And then we got different people, and you all, with how y'all are
Right.
staggered, we'll take a look at that. So there may be some,
And this is a mayor appointed position as is currently written.
Right,
So
right.
it's not, doesn't have to be,
Yes.
it's not mayor and commission, it's mayor.
yes,
Right,
mayor,
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 right.
mayor makes these appointments,
Right.
yeah.
Right, I
The-
think,
this-
I think
especially
I'm
with
a 2 year, I think it's 1, 2, 3.
the- Yeah, especially with the
One,
audit
two,
committee, it's strictly the
Right.
mayor.
Yes, yeah. But what I can do is I'll send out an email in the interim, next week sometime with everyone's terms, and I think, quite honestly, Katie might even have it. It's on our website, actually. That's okay. So real quickly though, Dr. Thomas, your term expires September of 25. Ms. Higgins, September of 26, and Mr. Blunt, September of 27.
Thank you, Kelly.
And are they renewable?
Yes, I believe so, and I can give you the language on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the mayor's prerogative.
Sure.
He may not say, I won't be appointed.
Right.
Tries to know.
Sounds good.
So we're gonna make
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Thomas be,
Yeah,
he should be
be
reappointed,
appointed.
yeah.
You could be appointed. Yeah.
I'm over here kissing up the Carl and I'm getting set up to my.
Yeah, exactly. County, yes, but the need you.
So
Yeah.
what I would say is, we'll get that information to y'all, and then we'll start working on some bylaws information for briefing y'all in October. But as a board, I think what we'll look for today is whether y'all feel comfortable with canceling any meetings at this point, at least in the immediate future.
I would say that we can, let's wait till October.
Okay.
Just in case,
Right.
our committee is not satisfied and we may have to be, let's just wait till
Yeah.
October.
Okay.
Once we get all this information about bylaws, mission statements, and things, then let's make a decision.
Okay,
It, it won't be no harm or foul if we decide to cancel or to meet. So
okay. We'll keep that on the agenda for next month.
Gavin, I
Yeah.
won't be here for the October
Okay.
3rd meeting,
Okay,
just making sure we'll still have a quorum as we.
yeah, as
I know
long
that
as,
one
we
We
have
just need
three, yeah,
So I think as long as everyone else is good, okay.
okay. Staffing standpoint, actually, prior to this meeting, we were just in interviews for, an internship position in our office, so, that'll be for the fall semester, and then after that, thanks to the mayor and commission's, fiscal year budget, we'll actually be, hiring for the full-time third management analyst
Mhm.
position in January. That's when the funding becomes available. So, internship to help us out for this semester, and then come January, hopefully a full-time position. So that's where we're at from a staffing.
one intern,
One intern, yes. And then from a Peace Cog standpoint, in July, we dedicated roughly 16 hours a week. And in August, that went down to about 12 hours a week. We also didn't have a meeting in August, which is likely why those numbers went down. There is an active complaint that they are currently processing as a group. So, pretty much steady traffic right now with regard to, the Peace Cog workload. And we already talked about next meeting, October 3rd, but other than that, that is all I have unless you all have some other information.
questions.
I just have one quick question. How many complaints year to date have we had for these calls?
Sure. So I think we need to distinguish that between formal and informal. So formal, there have been 4, year to date, 2024, complaints. But certainly, prior to 2024 and then even throughout the year, we do get, notified of concerns that haven't come in a formal capacity and things like that. So,
Thank you.
I'm just gonna mention this for the meetings, since you said you weren't gonna be there.
Mhm.
My older daughter is due to have to deliver a baby at the beginning of October. I'm on hold. I mean, I may be gone at some time for this, but it doesn't look like we're making any decisions where we'll have any votes for a while.
the
So-
only thing would be in October is the potential for the IT one to move forward, but in talking with the mayor as well, the mayor is wanting to gauge exactly what executive session that would go on anyway. So I don't think there's a defined date that even if approved in October, that it would be the next available. So if it comes down to it, having to cancel October and bring everything up in November is not gonna throw off.
Well,
our schedule.
I don't know when I'm not gonna,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might be October,
might be.
it may November, because it depends upon their needs.
Sure.
Where's your daughter? Where's she?
In Montreal.
Oh, yeah,
So-
that's a good trip.
Well, it's direct flights, that's what I like,
Yeah.
direct flights.
But certainly, if anything comes up with anyone's schedule, just let us know as soon as you can, and I'll get with Chair Fisher to decide whether or not we have to cancel a meeting or whatever. So,
Any other questions? Manager Jones, anything?
no, sir.
Okay. If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good. Well,